adults can participate in an ugly sweater contest, with someone winning $250 for wearing the ugliest sweater. For more information, you can contact me.
Thank you. Any other supervisors with communications or announcements? Supervisor Williams.
Thank you. Probably wish that maybe it went before her, but I didn't think of it to raise my hand until afterwards. Want to encourage everybody to visit downtown Beloit for their farmers market. It still is continuing. It happens on Saturdays from, I think it started actually last week, and it runs through until May. Oddly, I was at a doctor's appointment in Rockford today, and the receptionist mentioned that this past weekend that she was coming to Beloit to visit the county's farmers market indoor, and I was really, really shocked. So I'm hoping that people who are out there and viewing this, as well as people in here, will go to Beloit and visit the downtown farmers market that's being held from present until, they extended, I think this is the first year they've extended it until like May of 2022. Thank you.
Thank you. Other supervisors? Supervisor Rashkin.
Well, I wasn't planning on it, but as representing downtown Beloit, please come on down to downtown Beloit and go everywhere else too. Thank you. Support small businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Others? Anything from staff? Okay, next item, please.
Next item, item 7, nominations, appointments, and confirmations. We do not have any. Item 8, recognition of county employees or others. We do not have any. Number 9, introduction of new resolutions or ordinances by supervisors for referral to appropriate committee.
Any supervisors wishing to introduce a new resolution, please bring it forward at this time. Any supervisors wishing to bring forward a new resolution, please bring it up at this time. Next item, please.
Next item, item 10, reports. 10A, report on organizational excellence, Hugh Life.
Okay, Josh, if you would.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'm pleased to introduce Jeremy Kautza from Hugh Life. Jeremy is one of 3 consultants from Hugh Life, along with Arena Firstman and Judy McDonald, who worked on this report. Many of you I know had some interactions with one or more of them, either in person or via Zoom, over the past several months. So we're pleased to have Jeremy here to provide you with an overview of the final report, which you have on your desk. And certainly there's a lot of information there, and so we don't expect that you will have all your questions answered tonight or have everything, all the information you want provided to you, but Jeremy is here to give you that overview and answer some of your questions. Jeremy brings 25 years of experience in strategic, organizational, and leadership development to this role. And while the Hugh Life organization itself is headquartered in the Minneapolis area, Jeremy is local. He resides in Dane County, and in his day job, when I don't know how he has time to do all that he does, works as an internal consultant at UW-Madison. So he is close enough to understand what it means to live and work in South Central Wisconsin. So with that, I'd invite Jeremy up and turn it over to him.
Thank you, Josh, and thank you, everybody, board, guests, staff, for having us tonight on a busy night. I was told there's a Badger game later tonight, so I won't bend your ear too terribly long as we work through things today. But Hugh Life is delighted to present this final report from the Rock County Organizational System Review. It's really a culmination of the collaborative information gathering, analysis, and employee engagement activities that have taken place since July of this year. The project began in earnest in July with a review of the purpose of the project outlined in the request for proposal. And that request was to conduct an organizational review to ensure that Rock County remains an organization of excellence and enhances its reputation in the community as an employer. Our task at Hugh Life was to evaluate, make recommendations, compare and contrast with best practices, and analyze the information using an equity lens. Because of the significant scope of this project and the resulting impact to all employees in the system, we knew that an approach and methodology that revolved around securing stakeholder input and feedback up front would be essential. That's who we are at Hugh Life. We are committed to an inclusive and respectful process in all that we do, in all the work that we perform, whether it's consulting engagements, whether it's training, whether it is facilitation. And it's only through the use of that employee-centered collaborative framework that you all as a county have the greatest potential for success. During the listening and learning phase, phase one of our project, we gathered information from 800 employees via a survey, just a tremendous, tremendous response rate. Over 40 individual interviews were conducted and 12 employee focus groups that had a total of 80 employees were also conducted. Many hours of conversation with HR staff and administration helped us learn more about the county and provided valuable insight, leading to the recommendations that you'll read in this report. The second phase, the responding phase, included two key areas. Again, an information review and recommendation development. That was done collaboratively with various folks within the county. And then finally, generation of the final report and this presentation tonight. Note that prior to being submitted to the county board for approval, human resource employees, county administration, and members of the Blue Ribbon Commission were all provided with an opportunity to provide feedback and discuss implications. The report itself, which is quite lengthy, has been organized into 6 chapters. We used a car dashboard as a metaphor for the transformational journey that the county has already embarked on and will continue. On that dashboard are gauges that must be monitored, resources and fluid levels that must be maintained, and possible warning lights that may require adjustment and attention along the way. The first chapter is all about strategic management. It's about preparing for the journey, determining the destination, how to get there. The remaining chapters are really about supporting the journey by optimizing resources, making sure you stay on route, and assuring safety along the way. There's one observation that I want to lead off before we get into a breakdown of each individual chapter. And this is something that was resounding from people at the county. And that is, with everyone we spoke to, their pride and their appreciation for the county and their genuine commitment to serving the community. Again, this was shared with us at just about every turn. People are ready and eager to move forward. That's something to be valued and nurtured indeed. So as I take a look at or take you through a brief summary of each of the individual chapters, I would invite you to, again, think about how these play into each other and how this first chapter on strategic management really is put first with intention. Because that chapter on strategic management is really the level where the county's mission, your purpose, your values, those things that guide human behavior, and your vision, your sense of direction and inspiration are defined. It's also at the strategic level where those 3 components are translated into your county personnel ordinance and administrative policy and procedure manual. These all come together to describe your desired culture. The perspectives gathered reflected a very strong, dedicated workforce where employees are proud to work for the county and believe that they're adding value to the workplace. Employee relationships amongst peers are very strong, trusting, and mutually supportive. About half of the employees believe their voices are being heard within leadership, and about 2/3 believe the county has their best interest at heart. Although in many organizations, employees are naturally less trusting of higher levels of leadership, especially in the public sector, employee responses to the question around trust and collaboration reflect a need for greater inclusion of employees in the decision-making process and a need for better communication and support between leadership and staff. The recommendations also indicate a need for a countywide strategic plan to bring all things into alignment. Again, is that strategic plan that provides that roadmap for leading the transformational change required to shift the culture. Creating that plan is only the first step. Once created, the real work begins in implementing that plan. And this is going to require some change management or change enabling work. Leaders must be equipped with those change management practices, tools, and processes to lead that transformational change. And they must be able to articulate and provide a compelling vision and inspire a sense of urgency for that change. Therefore, it is our recommendation that substantial commitment, planning, and advocacy on the part of leaders at every level of the county be required. This starts again with a strategic plan. This plan must be developed using a collaborative process to ensure that all voices are included and heard. That includes employees, community members, staff, leaders. This process in itself will provide the first step toward building that inclusive and collaborative culture. There are other recommendations around strategic management in Chapter 1 of the report. Once that very important strategic plan is built, that roadmap, if you will, where that vision is clear and it's collaboratively generated, and there is buy-in from all folks within the county and within the organization, we then have to turn to our resources that are necessary. And number one, of course, is the workforce. The primary recommendation in Chapter 2 around recruitment and retention is to develop a comprehensive recruitment and retention plan that includes more expanded strategies for sourcing and recruiting talent, including a marketing and employer branding strategy, analyzing the employment application to improve functionality and access, reworking the hiring process to reduce the amount of time it currently takes to fill positions, working collaboratively to improve the interview process to allow for more dialogue and flexibility and selection strategies, and reviewing the affirmative action plan to incorporate new strategies designed to increase diversity in the workforce. Once we have folks recruited to the county, the attention then turns to Chapter 3 and how we keep those workers engaged and motivated. A total rewards program is designed to attract, motivate, and keep the right talent in the workforce. A good total rewards program balances the needs of the organization and the community with the needs and interests of the employees. A good compensation plan is obviously a key component of a total rewards system. This helps motivate employees to perform at the highest levels and improve overall morale in the organization. Providing clarity and transparency around how employees are compensated reduces the frequency of employee confusion and/or the perception of errors in play. This results in an increase in employee satisfaction and commitment. There is quite a bit of complexity around the county's current salary schedule and related overtime and paid leave provisions. We examined and compared your current salary schedule with two other counties, Brown and Outagamie. The complexity has the potential to negatively impact work efficiency in administering the schedules and contributes to confusion on the part of employees who do not understand the rationale behind the schedules and what they mean for them. A bit of good news around total rewards is that employees are happy with the group insurance plans, health, dental, life, and so forth. These plans and your commitment to the employees in this way reflect a commitment to excellence in providing an attractive menu of benefits. As we move to Chapter 4 on employee performance management, we have employees in place, comfortable with their total rewards. We now need to make sure that the workforce is working productively and positively impacting our progress on this journey. Chapter 4 begins with a description of a high-quality performance management system. What we found was that through the employee survey, there were low ratings when it came to employees' opinion of the value or quality of the performance review process. The low ratings were not based on interaction with their supervisors, but with their dissatisfaction with how current performance evaluation is structured and an interest amongst employees in moving from a punitive model to more of a growth model. When supervisors were asked to rate their level of confidence in performance in administering discipline, part of an employee performance management model, they reflected a lower level of confidence, implying that some leaders may need additional training, resources, or coaching to get them to a level where they are fully confident in carrying out this essential responsibility. In Chapter 5, we took a look at the training and organizational development, a key piece of your journey and your plan toward a county of excellence, a culture of excellence. Because when employees are not performing to their potential, what is it that can be done to support them in that effort? Having access to ongoing training and opportunities for growth to maintain optimal performance is essential. Training and organizational development is about increasing and enhancing employee performance through activities that can range from basic skills and refresher courses to comprehensive leadership institutes, designed to support a career ladder for current employees to move up in the organization. We recommend a holistic view and review of what is available in the training and organizational development lens. We found also that there is a need for a countywide training program to support employees transitioning into a new job, employees who need training in basic skills, employees who are preparing for a new responsibility or level in the organization. Employees also describe a need for a more comprehensive onboarding process so that new employees are provided with resources, support, and time to observe and learn, especially during that critical first year of employment. Finally, we took a look at human resources, operations, and service delivery, Chapter 6. The information gathered during this process highlighted several areas of strength in the Human Resources Department, including critical operational and administrative responsibilities, especially in the areas of compliance, personnel ordinance, statutes, etc. Employee wellness was highly rated by many employee groups that were surveyed. Keeping employees informed about their insurance and benefits was also mentioned. High levels of satisfaction around these areas reflect Human Resources' commitment to the excellence on the part of staff members and to meeting the ever-changing needs of the workforce and the county. A few areas of concern were also expressed, specifically around maintaining confidentiality and treating others with respect. There is the perception amongst some that Human Resources may be playing favorites or not abiding totally by the parameters set forth in ordinance. These comments, again, although not in the majority, are serious enough to require a closer look and deeper understanding of the root causes for the perception shared. Another thing that came out in our analysis of human resource operations and service delivery that was quite striking is a comparison of the staffing level in the county's HR department compared to industry-wide best practices. In Rock County, there are a very low number of staff members to meet all the needs of the employees in the county. In addition to that, human resources must rely on an HRMS system that affords little functionality in the form of employee self-service. The result is a department that is unable to meet the needs of the county or the workforce. This inability can be translated by employees as a dissatisfaction with human resources. The best news around human resources is that the staff are extremely knowledgeable in their work, committed to the county, and are ready to do whatever it takes to achieve success. They know what needs to be done, what there is still to do. What they need now is the support, encouragement, and assistance in the form of resources and tools. As we think about next steps, at a very high level, there are potentially three different options. Number one, do nothing. I don't believe that that's the goal or the drive of this particular body. Number two would be to implement incremental change. Tackle a big project, a big stone, perhaps a strategic planning process, an inclusive strategic planning process to include department directors, the county board, the Blue Ribbon Commission, staff, and other folks within the community and the county. There may be some small stones or some small projects that you take a look at. For example, working with hiring managers to improve this process by eliminating inefficiencies, duplication, or waste. There may be a third option as well, and that's a complete overhaul of the system. What that looks like would be up to the county to determine. At Hugh Life, we're always available to facilitate these conversations to help you decide, to help you prioritize, and to most importantly, take ownership. It is through participating in this process and contributing to it that your ownership is solidified and your commitment realized. Again, I want to thank Rock County for the opportunity to provide this information and our analysis based on that information about how you can transform the county into an organization of excellence. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, we will open things up to questions. Your questions can be about anything specific regarding the entire report or something that would be in a general nature. So questions, please go ahead. Supervisor Knutson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Jeremy, Irina, Judy from Hugh Life. They really did a fantastic job. They bent over backwards to make sure that this got done in a relatively short amount of time. There was a lot of, as I said in the meeting, we had a blue ribbon. There was a lot of texts, phone calls, emails, late nights, early mornings. You guys got the job done. You did it well. I would encourage everyone to really read this report cover to cover because there's a lot of great information in here that we can learn from. But again, thank you, Jeremy. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Holman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for a good presentation, sir. That was very enlightful. You said there were two counties that you used as comparison counties, and one was Brown and the other I don't recall.
Outagamie.
Allegheny?
Outagamie.
Oh, okay. With that being said, how is there a comparison to Rock County at this point? Because is it a population? Is what we do comparable to them in far as work effort forward? What is the comparison parameters that were used?
Yeah, I'll have to go back and get the specific parameters that were used to select those two counties as it relates to that comparison. And I can certainly provide that to the board through Supervisor Knutson or Josh or Randy.
Thank you. That'd be very handy. Because I was kind of wondering, because, you know, when you were talking about the satisfaction of the county and our employees and their, basically in their monetary responses that you received, obviously you said there was quite an extensive reply to those measures that you had asked. And so that's kind of why I was asking which counties were being, you know, surveyed against, you know, us and the other ones. So that's kind of why I was wondering, because I hear a lot of complaints myself from people, so.
And if I may, the comparison with Brown and Outagamie counties, was on salary schedules only. So those were the two counties that were used as comparables for compensation schedules.
Very good. Thank you very much. I look forward to, Josh, if you could respond to that for me when you get it.
Thank you, Supervisor Holman. Supervisor Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Jeremy.
Jeremy? You mentioned at one point, I think you had 3 suggestions. One of them was incremental changes, was that correct?
Yes, to do nothing, to do incremental change, or to have a complete overall.
Okay. And you also suggested doing a strategic plan. I'm a firm, obviously, I believe in strategic planning. What would you suggest? 3-year, 5-year? What would you be suggesting there as far as, because when I'm thinking about incremental changes, I'm thinking a 3-year strategic plan or a 5-year strategic plan. I know Beloit did a 1-year strategic plan, which really made me cringe. You too?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are you suggesting?
Yeah, I think a 1-year plan is more of an operational plan with perhaps some strategy that went in to help build it. The rule of thumb around strategic planning is 3 or 5 years as it relates to the window of opportunity to think strategically. I would personally recommend a 3-year strategic plan. It has a little tighter focus and allows folks to monitor that progress in a way that helps keep that plan active and moving forward. 5 years can be too long of a window, potentially, to continue to think strategically. And there's a risk of getting locked into what is created in a 5-year plan, whereas in a 3-year plan, the context that the county is engaged with or experiencing, that context is a little more tighter with a 3-year window versus a 5. A lot can happen in 5 years. And so to have a 3-year plan really just provides that focus and allows you to stay within that context that you start with. Of course, you're reviewing and evaluating and analyzing it for changes along the way, but it doesn't get too loosely coupled, or decoupled, I should say. It doesn't get too decoupled from that original context as you move out in that 4th and 5th year.
Okay, and another question. When I do strategic planning, I like to build in action items, because as you're aware, sometimes people create strategic plans that kind of get put on the shelf. When you work with folks, I imagine you kind of work with them to build in those.
Absolutely.
What are you actually going to do,
Absolutely.
right? Okay.
So we start with typically the end in mind, that's your vision. And we take a look at what is it that you want to be 3 years from now as a county? What accomplishments do you want to realize? We then look at what blocks or barriers are preventing you right now from achieving those accomplishments. Why can't you go out and do that tomorrow, next week, next month? Once we have those blocks, those barriers, we then determine the strategies and directions, the priorities for the organization. And then we take a look at first-year accomplishments, what needs to happen to start moving that needle, and then get down to 90-day implementation, where we are putting actions on paper, resources needed, accountability measures, key performance indicators, and who's going to be performing or responsible for that work, for those specific actions.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions for Jeremy tonight? Supervisor Rashkin.
Okay. All right. I had a couple of just questions looking through this. For instance, on page 35, in prepare the workforce and develop the plan, you say many aspects of the process must be aligned, and development of the plan cannot even begin until leadership is certain the workforce is ready and prepared to move forward with the vision. How do you figure the readiness of the workforce? What does that mean?
Sure. So prepare the workforce. Let me just read the whole paragraph here, if I may.
Sure.
Right. So unless there is a defined landing point, an end in mind, if you will, there is no focus. There is no there is no drive to accomplish this thing, this end in mind, this vision that has been created. And if you don't have the ability to articulate what that vision is, what that end point is, your strategies and your approaches are going to be misaligned or competing potentially even, which is going to send the wrong message to your workforce, your employees, in terms of what it is that they need to do and what it is that they're going to be monitored and held accountable for. So that alignment is key, that vision is key, and until those things are explicitly and clearly created and articulated, you can't begin to execute a plan because there is no focus, there is no alignment in those efforts.
Sure. I was just curious about how the leadership is going to be certain that the workforce is ready.
Yeah, well, I mean, the leadership has a role to play in understanding what that vision is, in helping create that vision with the workforce,
Okay.
and to assess whether or not the efforts that are going to be undertaken are going to be successful because the employees, the workforce, is ready for that change process to occur.
All right. Then jumping to, let's say, page 42, There's a list of issues, paychecks and salary advancement and job descriptions that seems like all, need to be updated and recognition. When you talk about incremental change, is that going to be sufficient?
Well, that's partly up for you all to decide as well. Incremental change can be sufficient in the sense that it provides momentum, it provides quick wins, it provides motivation, it provides confidence that the county and the leadership is doing what it says it's going to do to improve the conditions for its employees and the environment that the employees are working within. So structured correctly, and with the input of the county workforce, incremental change can be very, very effective.
So it kind of as a part of a greater plan and bigger vision.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much.
Supervisor Stevens.
I think I can kind of give a little bit of an example. You were talking about a complete do-over, right? As an example. So I went into an organization that wanted to do a complete do-over with their culture. And they brought me in before they had done the buy-in with the organization. And I wouldn't take the job because the organization, the leadership wasn't ready, right? And when you are trying to do a cultural shift, and this was specifically around DE&I, you cannot start that work until top down, the leadership has done the buy-in first, right? You can't start that work, particularly work like that. And it sounds like the work that we're trying to do is from an equity lens, right? So unless from the top down, we have completely bought into that, and all of our leadership, we've gotten to buy in, we can't even start that work, right? And then once we've done that, then we have to get our workforce ready for that, right? We can't start the work until we've done that, and right? And so when I was asked to help, I can understand immediately from the leadership who didn't even want to have meetings with me to even have that conversation, that they were not ready for that. And that was not a contract that I wanted to have, right? So maybe is that kind of what?
I think that's certainly part of it, right? If your leadership isn't bought in and your leadership isn't knowledgeable and ready and prepared to make whatever changes are desired, or whatever strategies or vision that gets created, that work will ring hollow to the employees. And for those that are not fully bought in at the employee or the county workforce level, they're not going to be fully committed to it because they're not going to be convinced or assured that these efforts are going to continue to be long-lasting, to be sustainable. And people don't want to put time, effort, and resources into things that are not going to be sustainable, that there are no commitments to, that there's no leadership around. People are plenty busy with other day-to-day operational responsibilities. There has to be buy-in, there has to be commitment, there has to be a clear, articulated vision. I hope that addressed your.
Supervisor Stevens, are you satisfied with that? Okay, before I go on to the next question, I keep hearing somebody's phone, getting a text message. If you'd please make sure your devices are silenced, that would be wonderful. Supervisor Williams.
Thank you again. And thank you again for accepting the contract from Rock County to do this focus. And even more so, thank you for standing before us tonight to present it and to be honest about your discoveries. and what we need to do in order to even begin to think about moving forward. I want to make a comment directly to the county administrator for Rock County, Josh. I personally want to thank you for making sure we had a presentation. I think it was last month. It could have been September. It probably was September. I believe the lady was from the Wisconsin Association of Counties, WAC, and she informed us as Board of Supervisors what our role was and what the role of the county administrator, et cetera, et cetera. And what I recall is, as Board of Supervisor, our main focus is to be visionaries for the county. And I appreciate the presentation tonight because it talked about the end of a line, at least I heard you say the end of a line, and what are our visions. And has been a member of the Board of Supervisors for Rock County. And especially listening to Supervisor Stevens' comments, I hope that we will join forces as a board and agree that we will work toward, I should say, a vision for future generations of our county. Has won. I think everyone else will fall in place, but first we need to come together and be positive. Thank you again very much for this presentation tonight. And Josh, thank you for bringing it forward to us. And know that you were not the only person who did this. You worked along with our chair and other people. But thank you guys for at least doing a critical eye for Rock County. Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Questions or comments? Okay, I would, Supervisor Renish?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I guess I'm just throwing a question out there, a general question. This information is new. We need to look through it and digest it, but can we touch back on this and figure out, are we going to form a committee? Are we going to talk about this as a group? Like, what are we going to do? So, with this information.
I think that's a great question. Right, so as you said, not enough time tonight to look through it. Lots of information there to review. I think that's the open question, and it's up to the board. I think, as Jeremy has said, and others have said, what is it that you want to do? What process do you want to follow? Is there going through recommendations in an incremental way, more substantial change, something you put before a governing committee? Do you put it back to the Blue Ribbon Commission? Do you ask for something else from us and HR staff? There's lots of ways we could move forward. I think it's up to the board to decide.
Can we set a definitive date of when any or all of us, each or any of us, would like to make comments on this, so we're not just throwing it out there? Have some sort of an organized discussion?
I would say that I'd like to see this go back to the Blue Ribbon Commission, just for a little bit of guidance. They're the ones that have been looking at this and working with it for so long. And take it back there and get some preliminary thoughts about how we should proceed. And again, those meetings are open to anyone, those Blue Ribbon Commission meetings. So if you would like to weigh in at the beginning, that would be a time, and we'll try to set forth a path that we can deal with all of this. I know there's a lot here. When I attended the Blue Ribbon meeting, I think it was last Thursday, and we were breaking out into smaller groups and discussing things, and the comment was made that this is massive. And yes, it is massive, but this is a big and an important thing. So as Supervisor Knutson mentioned, he would recommend that you read this from cover to cover. We will be dealing with this information in the coming months, and the more you know about it, the better our collective effort will be, and this will actually have some meaning. So this is really going to be a group effort, but I think we'll start out with the Blue Ribbon Commission and see what happens there. Questions, comments? Jeremy, thank you for coming down. Appreciate it very much. And to all of Hugh Life for putting together such a comprehensive document. And again, thank you to the Blue Ribbon Commission. That was a lot of heavy lifting in that committee, and it's certainly appreciated. Thank you. Next item, please.
Next item, item 11, new business. Item 11A, supplementary appropriations and budget changes, we have none. Item 11B, contracts, we have none. Item C, adoption of the final Rock County Supervisory District Plan.
Moved by Supervisor Taylor. Seconded by Supervisor Sweeney. Lisa, if you'd like to start out, please.
So Jennifer, did you want to explain the changes that were made from this map to the, so the tentative map that you approved in the beginning of October went to the municipalities. They built their wards, and then that came back to us, and then Jennifer made any changes to that. I'll let you explain how that all works.
Yeah, so like Lisa said, all of the municipalities have submitted their ward plans into the system. Everybody matched up very nicely. There were 2 changes that happened due to annexations that occurred in the city of Beloit. Well, after we had started the redistricting process. And so that's on this page here that I put all on your desks. There's 2 parcels that are being moved. I think it's a total of 6 people, very insignificant. Other than that, the maps are exactly the way you approved them in October.
Questions for Jen?
That's all I got.
Okay, that's all, minor adjustments. So if there are no questions or comments at this point, we have a motion and a second. If you'd read back the motion, please, Lisa.
Adoption of the final Rock County Supervisory District Plan.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Next item, please.
Next item, item 12, adjournment.
Moved by Supervisor Baumkamp, seconded by Supervisor Davis. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.